Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Diner Talks with James. I'm James. Cool. I'm so pumped that you are here. I'm pumped to get this show crack-a-lacking today. We got a lot of cool things that are happening on this episode. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Do me a favor. Make sure that you tell me where you are from, where you're calling in from. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat and let me know where you calling in from right now. What's going on with you? Tell me, are you drinking something right now? What's your drink right now? Shorty, what's your drink? Right? Let me know. What are you sipping on during this show while you kick it back? Are you wearing moccasins? What kind of moccasins? I like moccasins. It's also a little warm for moccasins, but I'm excited. I'm excited for sure. So thank you so much for being here. Go ahead and cue that theme music. How? Okay, we don't have that yet, but we're working on it. We are going to get that eventually. I'm super excited about it. Y'all, it's been a fun week already. It is in the mid 70s in Minnesota. It is in the mid 70s in Minnesota. It's glorious. We're out here taking walks. We got my boy Scott calling in from his couch. We got Betsy eating a favorite beverage out of a koozie. Must be nice to have a koozie. I used to have one. I love it. I love it. Where is this? Battleground from Manhattan Hop Springs. I don't know where that is, brother. Where is Mantra Hot Springs? Is that Arkansas? Where, like Hot Springs? Hot Spring? I don't know where you're calling in from, but I'm here. I'm excited that you're here. Shout out Mox and Milkshakes, Mel Lewis. Let's get it. I'm here for it. I love it. Oh shoot. My wife's in the next room. That's amazing. Hi, Tina. So friends, thank you so much for coming in and hanging out with me. We got a really exciting episode. Tara Fuller is on the show today. She is exquisite. I'm excited for you to hear about her thoughts on life and some interesting things that she has been up to. We share some different beliefs on some stuff, and I'm excited to get into a little bit of that and learn on this podcast with you. Shout out. If my volume is okay, do me a favor, just go ahead and hit the like button for me really quick, just so I know that you all can hear me and everything sounds good on your end. You never know with these tech issues. I love it. I love it. Where are the Thin Mints, brother? Valid question. Valid question. Too bad they're my third favorite. Shout out to these tag-alongs in these streets. I appreciate you, Tim. My friends, it is time for the top three. Top three. Let's go. Okay. Top three. This first one came from Dan the Man Lavender. Dan Lavender, shout out to you. Go Tigers. So he asked favorite shoe brands. Now here's the thing. There are not many clothing stores that know how to dress a big man, okay? Not many stores know how to dress a big man. When you tell me that you have a shirt that is double X, I rarely believe you. Okay? I rarely believe you because you don't know what's going on over here, okay? Your double X, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, and I'm not switching to the hula shirts. I'm not going into the Hawaiian shirts. I refuse to be the big man that only rocks Hawaiian shirts. My friends, I am the party. I don't need to wear the party, okay? So there's a few stores that don't know how to dress a big man. Here's the thing with shoes, though, is that regardless of what I'm wearing up top, if I got some crispy shoes on, y'all, let's go. So I am a shoe game. I actually have more shoes than my wife. So that's a fun fact. Anyway, top three favorite shoe brands. First off, number three. Number three was kind of a tie. There's this new brand called Taft that I really love, but they're kind of pricey, so I feel douchey saying that. But I really like this brand called Taft. And by saying Taft, do not even look them up because they will berate your social media feed. As a matter of fact, just me saying this, if your cell phone is anywhere near us right now, you will now have Taft come up on Instagram, Facebook, and everywhere. I'm sorry. Good thing their shoes are beautiful. Anyway, I recommend them. They're beautiful. But my third favorite shoe brand is actually Clark's. And when I say Clark's, I'm talking about one specific shoe that they make. They make the Wallabies, and the Wallabies are my favorite shoes of all time. Here is my favorite pair of shoes that I've ever had. And by pair of shoes, I mean one. There's another one. I just didn't bring it. But this is my favorite shoe that I've ever owned in my life. This is a Clark's Wallaby. They got the creeper sole. They're a good time, y'all. Shout out to them. Number two, Nike. I'm out here. You know what I'm saying? J's on my feet. J's on my feet. Bet you can't do it like me. Hey, all right. So, shout out to Nike out here. We got to be out here looking crispy in this Nike. You know, I got the swoosh on. So, last but not least, my favorite shoe brand of all time is Cole Haan. My friends, it just feels like you're walking on a damn cloud. Okay, I don't understand how I can look so good and feel so good at the same exact time. Cole Haan is my favorite brand of shoes, but they're expensive. I have never bought a pair of Cole Haan shoes that was not in a Cole Haan outlet because your boy ain't got that normal retail store money yet. We'll get there, but that's what I do. What's your favorite shoe brand? What kind of shoes do you rock? Yo, shout out. Mom and Dad are in the house. What's up, Mom and Dad? Thanks so much for chiming in. Appreciate y'all being here. Antonio Nev's in the building. What's up, Nevs? I love it. I love it. First top three done. Next top three, airports. Remember those? Those were cool. I miss airports, y'all. Did a lot of traveling in my life. And particularly with my job as a professional speaker, I get to travel for a living. It's awesome. And I love it. My top three favorite airports. First, Asheville, North Carolina. It's a smaller airport. Otherwise, I'd probably rank it higher. But it's a smaller airport. But the view coming into Asheville through the Appalachians is stunning. It is stunning coming in, and then once you're there, there's a whole bunch of really cute shops, and it's just an adorable airport. It smells good. A lot of airports don't smell good, but the Asheville airport smells good, and it's super easy to get through. Next, let's talk about some bigger airports because the little airports are always the better. But MSP, my current home airport, Minneapolis, St. Paul, they literally took a chunk of the Mall of America and put it into the terminals. So there's some banging shopping all throughout. There's also some really great food in MSP, and it's just a really easy airport to navigate. It's clean. Last, Charlotte, CLT. Here's the thing about the Charlotte airport. There's only two things. There's only two reasons why the Charlotte airport is my favorite airport. Those two things are, number one, Bojangles. If you ever want me to rank my top three favorite fast food chains, Bojangles is number one. I am a Bo-Berry biscuit boss, all right? If you don't know, you need to know. And if you know, you know. So, also, they have beautiful rocking chairs. And what's a better way to pass the time than a rocking chair? You can't feel stressed and sit in a rocking chair at the same time. So I just love that about the Charlotte airport. Scott, great question. MSP, that would be Terminal 1. Terminal 1. Great question, though. I appreciate it. Yes, Keith, you already know. Go Tigers, Keith. You already know. Charlotte, those things. I like it right here. Shout out Tina. Tina's favorite is Indianapolis because she'll tell you it was the first airport that was designed after 9/11. So there's all these cool features in it. Anyway, Tina's also an AV geek like I am. I'm here for it. Thank you. My brother John knows about these Bojangles. All right, give me a chicken filet biscuit combo at any time. There you go. I'll tag along. I'm here for it. Literally the only two things about Christina, we're fighting right now, friend. Okay, we are fighting. Listen, that's the second top three. Last but not least, my boy asked me, my boy Borman asked me, what are the top three ways that you are staying positive during quarantine and COVID-19? Here's my top three ways that I am staying positive during those moments. First off, I eat 4 bowls of cereal a day, at least. Next, I go on regular peanut butter cup binges. Next, the fetal position. Friends, I'm just playing with y'all. I'm not really, I really do eat that much cereal, actually. I'm trying to cut back, but it's just so damn good. And we're not allowed to have peanut butter cups in the house anymore because it became a damn problem. It became a problem. What's up, Jamie? Thank you so much for coming through. I appreciate you. What up, Haley? Good to see you. Good to see you. So, here are my actual top 3 ways that I've stayed positive during this time, or tried to stay positive, because I've certainly had my days. I've definitely had my days where I'm like, this shit ain't gonna end. I don't know when it's going to end, right? And I'm talking about it like it's a sentence. So, but the top 3 ways that I'm doing, first off, Tina and I take daily walks. We walk for about 3 miles every single day. We walk up the Mississippi River on one side, back down on the other side, and it's absolutely beautiful. Our friend Betsy joins us from time to time, and we love that. But that's just been really important to get out, get some fresh air, get out of this apartment. We don't have a backyard. We live in an apartment, so that's just a really crucial moment. And it's also intentional time with my partner, which I really love. So that's number one. That's one of the most important things that I've done this time. Also, I have ridiculous text message chains with my friends. And so those have also made me happy. Me and my boy, Dan Lavender, who I mentioned earlier, sending ridiculous memes back and forth. I got my crew from back home. We just send absolutely preposterous pictures back and forth, and we make fun of each other. It feels like each one of us is a new target the next day, but it's just super fun, and it's a lot of good times. And so that's been really fun to get into that. And the last way that I found positivity during this time is seeking opportunity. We would not be talking today right now, if you would not be watching this show right now, if I didn't take a chance on the opportunity that quarantine has presented itself. There's a big part of me that's like, listen, why not try something? Worst comes to worst, if it fails, I can tell everybody, well, yeah, I tried that in quarantine. And everybody will be like, right? So there's no risk right now. There's no risk. Why not try something? And so that's why we're doing this. That's why Diner Talks was born. It's been an idea that I had for 5 or 6 years, and I finally got out of my own way to do it. And so it's recognizing that this is the time for opportunity. Top three, y'all. I just dropped my phone. It probably broke. Please send me money. Those screens are expensive. Let's jump into the show, y'all. I'm really excited about my guest that is coming in here. Really excited about Amanda. I got you. Put it in for next week. We'll do my top three favorite cereals. All right. Don't get greedy. It's not top 3, top 4, or top 4, top. I don't even know what it would be. Anyway, so but shout out to you, Amanda. Hope Myrtle Beach is doing great. My friends, I'm really excited about my guest coming up here today. Her name is Tara Fuller, and Tara and I have had some incredible conversations in our life together, stemming back when she worked at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, and we've had some really awesome, she showed me around the town of Baltimore while we had great, deep conversations. She gets me up earlier than anybody else does at conferences because she is worth it. I'm a night owl, and so I go to bed at 3 a.m., but Tara's like, can we do breakfast at 7? Sure, Tara, sure. So anyway, so that's what I love about her, because she is worth getting up for, and she's worth you hanging in on this situation. So she's an incredible speaker, a really powerful advocate, and she's got some really amazing stories. Let's start that slow clap right now for, let's get it in here, Tara Fuller.
What's up?
What's up, Tara?
Yeah. Hey. You know, it's funny because I am not a night owl. I'm a morning person. So you are worth staying up past 9 p.m. for, because I generally go to bed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you normally be in bed right now?
Yeah, I would. I mean, quarantine, I've been up a little bit later, but generally speaking, I'm in bed like between 8:30 and 10. Yeah.
Okay. I respect it. I mean, I guess I respect it. I don't understand it. I get these random bursts of productivity that hit me around 11 p.m. Hiccup that hit me around 11 p.m. And then I can literally go hard straight through 4 a.m. I don't understand it. It's almost like once the rest of the world is asleep, I can no longer feel bad about missing something or like caring about what Tina's doing. Instead, it's like, this is just you and your laptop, bro. Let's get to work. So yeah, that's funny.
I hear you. We are a little different, except that my favorite airport is also Charlotte.
It is.
And there are a lot of haters out there about the Charlotte airport.
That's fine. Haters gonna hate. What do you love about the Charlotte airport? I know it's
the rocking chairs. It's not Bojangles. Right. The rocking chairs got me. When I was a leadership consultant for ADPI, the rocking chairs got me. It was just so peaceful. Yeah. I loved it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Asheville also has rocking chairs. Fun fact about the Asheville airport. Maybe I just need a rocking chair at this point. I should do Diner Talks with James in a rocking chair. Come over here, boy. Sit on my knee. Now let's not make it awkward. Tara, you got some fans out here. Look at this. We got some Tara Fuller fans out here.
Oh my gosh,
I'm excited.
I can't.
You write fabulous later. Yep, I'm here. Oh my gosh, even Tina likes you. So
well, I love Tina, so that's perfect.
Tara, here's another interesting thing is that I happily get up for you in the morning because I'm a giant accommodator. And like I also have this fear that if I don't accommodate to you or to anybody, that I'm all of a sudden going to like lose your friendship, right? Like my Achilles here is that I need people to like me and whatnot. So the idea that I can be like, listen, Tara, I can't get together when you want to get together is like the equivalent in my head of being like, Tara, screw you. And it's so interesting. That's the way I write it in my head. I'm a big accommodator to people, though. So I happily get up for you for a number of reasons. But I also, once I'm up, I'm happy that I'm up.
Yes.
So,
yes, I hear
sure.
that. I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I also have that thing of like coupling approval and liking.
Mm-hmm.
Like people liking me. So trying to make sure that I'm doing all the things that I need to be doing. The reason I saw that Christina shouted out my chair. The reason that this chair is yellow is because yellow in the chakra system is associated with personal power. So to better stand in my personal power, I wanted something yellow in my space.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
There you go.
First off, Tara, you just said something that I don't think I understand.
Yes.
So you just said the word chakra, and the only thing I'm thinking of is Shaka Khan, and who is worthy of mentioning, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
But alas, that's not what we're talking about here. Tara, what is a chakra?
So I don't know that I can articulate it super well because I'm fairly new to the chakra system, but it is an energy system. I don't know where it originated, and I don't want to appropriate because it certainly did not originate with my Irish German folks. However, it is a system that exists.
Sounds very Irish.
Irish, I know. So there are 7 chakras that are associated with parts of the body, and they each represent different parts of the emotional system as well. So it starts with red, goes to orange. Yellow is in your solar plexus. That's the personal power one that I've been focusing on for several years now. Green, blue is your throat. Purple is your third eye. And then pink, like magenta, I think, it comes out the top of your head, and that's your connection to the divine.
Fascinating.
Yes.
So, okay, first off, have any of you ever done, Jamie says this is yoga language. That's good.
Yep.
I don't know if any of you have experienced and done some chakra work, energy work. I'd love to hear about it. Just tell me really quick in the chat if you've done this kind of stuff. This is brand new to me. And now we've hung out before and you've mentioned chakras, and I think I've just kind of like glanced past it because I was like, she just said a word I don't know and I want to look smart. So let me change the subject. So when did you first get, would you say, in tune with your chakras, become aware, when did this chakra system even become an option for you in your world?
Yeah, so I think it was 2017-ish, maybe. Amanda actually will remember this. She was in New Orleans with me. I had just started learning about chakras, and there was a woman at this flea market we were at, and she had different oils associated with different chakras. So there are like different scents associated with each one as well. And I bought this roller ball that it was yellow, had to do with the third chakra. And I was like, cool, I really am trying to get in tune with my personal power. This is associated with that. Let's just see what happens. Why not give it a shot?
Roller ball. I'm immediately picturing those new like green things that you're like, hang on a second, let me cleanse my pores.
No.
For my face.
No.
What is a roller ball?
Fair. It's like I don't know, like you would apply like perfume or something.
Okay.
Or cologne.
One of those. Okay, yeah, for sure. Amanda remembers.
Yes, thank you, Amanda. I appreciate it.
Rollerball, I got you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I've had plenty of people try to sell me doTERRA. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Right, exactly. So I don't know if I had known much about it prior to then, but that was definitely one of the things that I remember. I still purchase stuff from that vendor because I loved her stuff so much. And so that's when I first started being like, this is interesting. And it's also associated with like pains in the body. So like if you're having back pain, you can look up like what chakra is that associated with? And is there some emotional stuff that I need to work through in order to help that physical pain that's manifesting physically for me? So it's been a couple of years, but I still feel not very fluent on it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, that makes sense. It doesn't sound super concrete. And it sounds like a very personal thing as well. And I don't say that in a condescending way. I say that in it's a journey to learn about your chakras and how they manifest in your body. So you mentioned that you're working on the personal power chakra. Tell me more about that. That's chakra number, what was it? 3, 4, yellow?
3.
What was it?
Chakra
Red,
number 3.
Okay.
Yellow, my yellow chair. It's in your solar plexus. And personal power is very much like speaking up on behalf of other people is something that I do well. Speaking up on behalf of myself, not always so much. like sharing an opinion or pushing back on someone, because like you said, I couple it so much with, well, are they going to like me? Or if I challenge their opinion, are they going to be like, oh, I'm not friends with her anymore?
Oh, interesting. So do you make, in turn, do you make yourself feel smaller sometimes in those moments to try to avoid that moment? Like, is that like when you're not holding your personal power, is that what it looks like? Does it look like you making yourself feel smaller? Or what is it? How does that, yeah, what's that look like?
I feel it in my body. I like can feel that I'm like hot and like, oh, I don't agree and I should challenge them, or I should call them out, or I should say something. And then I don't. So it's very much just silence. I don't know that I make myself smaller necessarily, but it's very much just like being silent and not asking for what it is that I need. That's the other part of it, is it might not even have to do with challenging anybody, but people might be like, oh, we're going to go do this. And I might be like, I really need to go to sleep. But if I go to sleep, then I'm going to miss out on this and they're going to think I'm not fun. So I can't express my needs right now. So really just shutting down my own needs in order to, like you said, accommodate other folks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. Shout out to Susan over here really quick. Susan, I want to thank you for a couple of reasons. First off, thank you for watching. Secondly, thank you for telling me how to spell chakras. Definitely thought it was an SH. I love that you do this work, Susan. That's cool. So how when you say that you've been working on your chakra, when you say that you've been like, what does that work look like for you? Like, how does one work on a chakra?
Interesting. So it's a lot of body work. So I've been to this retreat twice now with one of my best friends, Ashley. We've gone to this retreat 2 different times called the Shalom Retreat. It's a lot of body work, and sometimes it is actually just like moving energy through your body. So whether that's through breath work, whether that's through yoga poses or stretching, it's dancing. I have a lot of dance parties in my apartment just to like move some energy if I feel stuff is stuck. So that is definitely, I do live alone. Yes.
Yep. I just want to make sure everybody's picturing this
because
it's a great time.
Thanks. Yeah. It's a really, really banging time. Yeah. Yeah. So just moving that energy has been really important. I see a therapist now that does something called somatic experience, which connects to the nervous system. And so that also, or Reiki, she also does Reiki. And so that's I think, Chinese medicine. Again, not trying to appropriate. These are things that folks that I know a lot more about. And so she will like place hands near me and move some energy throughout my body. It seems very woo-woo if you aren't like familiar with it. And like I said, I just was sort of like, I'm going to buy in and see what's going on. But when I went to my first retreat, we did a lot of work in my first chakra, which is the chakra, it's red, and it has to do with your safety and security and your sense of belonging in some sort of community. So that was where I needed to do a lot of my work, was around belonging.
Interesting. Was around belonging. Let's come back to that. But I think it's interesting because I think you had mentioned this to me before, but there's a thing, we're both higher ed nerds. And so Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's almost like are they kind of not necessarily paired, but do they mirror each other a little bit?
I would say that they do in a lot of ways, because they're very like foundational, right? So Maslow is like, you need your food and your basic needs met in order to even get to the higher levels of the pyramid. And I would say that I'm not as familiar with how chakras work, but a lot of times if you have a blockage in your lower chakra and some energy that's stuck, it's harder to get to this like self-actualization, I'm connected to everything and everything is in me sort of place.
Yeah.
So I would say that so I just read a book and I shared this with you called Anatomy of the Spirit, which has taught me a lot. It's by Caroline Myss, Myss. And she overlays the chakras with the sacraments from Catholicism and the tree of life from Kabbalah. And so I do think when you think about then Maslow too, we're all really trying to figure out how life works and how we work as humans and why we feel the things that we feel and why we get sick and why people try to control other people and what does power look like. And so I think when she overlaid them, I was like, this makes so much sense. Like we're all trying to make sense of a lot of the same stuff. And so I just really bought in, and I think that that's why some of that work has helped me a lot.
Yeah. That's powerful. And here's what I love about this, Tara, is that there are so many things that we could do. Right, there's so many things that we could try when it comes to, some of these experiences, some of these somatic experiences, some of these I want to get better. And there's your yoga, there's your Reiki, there's your chakras, there's just straight up traditional religions. There is chiropractics, there's massage, there's so many things that you could do that oftentimes it's paralyzing. It's like, where do I even start? Like I, for example, maybe 4 months ago, started seeing a chiropractor, but I didn't want to go to a chiropractor that was going to like wail away from me and just like crack my bones. And just be like, let's pop all this. Okay, cool. There goes my spine. I've never heard it sound like a Ziploc bag before being opened. So that's comforting. But instead, I found this chiropractor is my buddy Ty, and what he does is it's very interesting where he kind of feels throughout your spine where you're carrying the most stress or where those blockages are for you. And there's certain places where those blockages occur down the spine, almost like chakras, where he's like, we need to open up this blockage because you're not able to your nerves aren't able to flow as smoothly. Your blood is not able to flow up and down as smoothly throughout the main avenue in your, of your spine, of your body to be able to get to all these different places. And so that's why, since it's getting blocked here, it's manifesting tightness here or carrying stress here or things like metabolism. And so it's very interesting because instead of him cracking my back, he has this little thing that almost, I don't even know, it's almost like, it feels like someone's like kind of like bumping, just like one bop with you with a finger. And he puts it a certain place on my spine, on a certain side of my spine where he can feel this tension, and he hits this, it's a trigger, and it pops the thing, and it doesn't hurt, but I can definitely feel it. It's just pressure. And then he holds his finger there. He holds his finger there and he's like, I want you to think about where my finger is right now. Keep thinking about, go up and down your spine and think about where my finger is. I need you to run things down there. And it is fascinating. But when I first went there, I was like, what the actual hell is this bullshit?
Yeah. Yep.
Right? I was like, I came in here because my back hurt, bro. I didn't come in here for some like spiritual thing. And but it was so interesting because it did help. It just took a little bit longer, right? Like sometimes that quick release of having a pop, it's like, boom, it pops. And all of a sudden now I have freedom in my neck. But it took a little bit longer, but ideally it lasts a little bit longer as well. But what you did, which is a little bit of what I did, and we said similar things at this point in our life, was that let me just buy in. Let me just go, because if I go there with the extreme amount of doubt of like, why am I actually wasting all of my money right now, then I'm never going to be able to get anywhere. Right? And so where we buy in our lives is so important. Where are the places where you choose to commit, where you choose to try, where you choose to love. And so that's what I love about what you were talking about there, Tara, because that's not always easy to do.
So let me ask you, because at these retreats that Ashley and I have gone to, a friend of ours, her name is Maba, she has said the body holds the wisdom. So trauma, anything that you've experienced, your body holds on to that. Even if you're like, I'm totally over it, I forgave that person, or I don't even remember that thing from when I was a child, but your body holds on to it. And so I'm wondering if you've noticed a difference. Like, have you noticed any sort of shift in the work that you've been doing with your chiropractor?
I have noticed a little bit of a shift. I'll be honest with you. COVID-19 didn't come at the best time.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so there's a little bit of that for sure. But yeah, I would say that it was moving along slower than I had wanted it to. And that's because when you have pain, you want the pain to just be gone. You don't want to take the slow route to pain alleviation. That's a new word.
Sure.
To alleviating the pain. You want the fast route. Fix it now. Give me the drugs. Do the surgery. Whatever it is. And so, but I did notice that I was moving more freely after time. It's now come back during this time because I'm carrying a lot of stress, and I carry a lot of stress in my hips and my lower back and up here as well. And so, yeah. So that's how I would answer that.
Yeah. So I always ask because now I know some of the language is like, well, where do you feel it in your body? Or what is your body trying to tell you? Get still and just like listen to the pain. Like, what is that trying to tell you? Which can be really scary because you're like, I don't want to listen to my body right now because I'm scared of what it's telling me, frankly. But that's the language that I've sort of learned to be like, why does this hurt today? Like, let me just sit in it for a second and try and figure out what's going on.
That must be so nice. What I do is, my body hurts today. Who else can I help and fix and ignore myself?
Yes.
Right? Like, that's what I do. It's like, let me pour myself into other people so that I don't feel like I'm just a worthless pile of blank.
You need some yellow in your life, James.
I do need some yellow.
You need some yellow.
That's my dad's favorite color. I wonder if there's something about that.
There you go.
Interesting. It's interesting, as we're both accommodators, is one other thing about you that I think is interesting, is that you are vegan. You are vegan, and so there's one reason why I don't know if I've ever be able to be vegan is because of this accommodator streak in me. Like, the idea, I fear, and I feel like a dumb amount of needless empathy for the person on the plane who, when someone comes on the speaker and they're like, we're not going to be able to serve peanuts today because someone has a peanut allergy, so none of you all can have peanuts and almonds, right? Like, there's part of me that's like, that would be my nightmare. You just inconvenienced 300 people. Like, that is my actual hell, right? And so interesting around veganism. This is a powerful choice that you've made. You've been vegan for some time, and I know you fluctuate between vegetarian and vegan as well and whatnot. We don't need to get into the nuances of it, but how is that part for you as someone who also can be an accommodator from time to time when you're not having those good personal power days?
You know, I love that. One thing that I think is interesting too, right, is the person on the plane is maybe inconveniencing folks, but it's inconveniencing folks because like they could die.
Right.
Whereas I might be inconveniencing someone or calling a restaurant ahead of time as a choice that I've made. Mm-hmm. This is not like nothing's going to happen to me if I were to have a steak. It's just a personal choice. For me, because I'm an accommodator, I tend to and I don't generally ask for what I need. I just don't share. So I'm like, I'll just figure it out. Like, I'll just eat some lettuce. It'll be fine. So that is really my approach. And I get potentially
that's out for you.
It's, eating a lot of lettuce. No, I also tend to just bring my own stuff. Like, I'm like, I'm not going to inconvenience anybody. So let me just bring these things that are vegan. And I've had to coach my parents a lot on this conversation because I used to bring stuff like to Thanksgiving or to Christmas. And my mom would be like, that's Tara's. It's vegan. And I'd be like, Mom, other people can eat it. Like, I'm not eating weird things. This is
a poison label.
Right, exactly. This is Tara's. You'll pass out if you eat it. So just nobody touch it. So she's learned not to do that anymore. And people will be like, oh, this is so good. And then they're like, you made this? And I'm like, yeah, I did. I did make it. So it's vegan. You're welcome. Right, exactly. So that's generally what I tend to do. And then I will have people who are like, oh, you're coming to this bridal shower. What do you need to eat? And I'm like, I'll just talk to the server when I get there. Like, you don't need to accommodate me. So I try to lay low. I try not to be the stereotype of folks who are vegan and be like, I'm vegan. Let me tell you all the reasons. And here's my pamphlet because I'd like you to become vegan too. I try not to be that person and just to move around sort of silently in that. Yeah. And if folks want to talk about it, I'm happy to talk about my decisions and stuff. Mm-hmm. But that is definitely the approach that I try to take. I just show up with my own meal, or I eat lettuce and drink some water. That's
okay.
Really,
that's the move that you do. Abby gets it. She said she gets it here. I don't know if you are a vegetarian or vegan, let us know. Be proud in the chat, friends. Be proud. Stand up. Speak up for yourself. But Abby gets it. Boom, boom here. Boom, I love it. That's so, I mean, being an accommodator is one of the interesting, especially being in a relationship. For me, it has taken me a long time to be like, no, here's what I want. This is what I'd like. Mm-hmm. Because in the beginning, it's just like, don't mess it up. If you say what you want, they're going to leave you. They're going to think you're weird. They're going to think you're controlling. They're going to think you're demanding or you don't care about them. And so it's weird how I bring that into friendships and relationships as well. And so, yeah. And those are things that I love to hide. But when they come out, you're also embarrassed a little bit because your friends are like, why didn't you just tell me?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like if I found out that you were accommodating to me during our first whatever meals, I would then feel doubly terrible. And that's also on me. But yeah, it's a weird cyclical thing.
That has definitely happened where I've been out with people several times, like groups of friends, and they're like, yeah, we're going to go to like Texas Roadhouse. I've actually never been there. I don't know why I use that as an example, but
First
we'll
off,
go to
their
places.
buttered rolls are incredible. They got honey butter. It's delicious. This show is actually sponsored by Texas Roadhouse.
Texas Roadhouse.
Thanks for bringing it up. Good.
You're
good
welcome.
Plant, Tara. Yep. Okay. Keep going.
Happy to do it. And like the fifth time we go out to eat, they're like, oh, you're vegan? I had no idea. I guess I wasn't really like paying attention to what you've been eating. And I'm like, yeah, like it's totally fine that we've gone to these really meaty places for the last 5 meals that we've had. No big deal. So I definitely have seen that. But on the flip side, I'm also super assertive. And maybe this is me practicing my personal power with servers.
Yes. Okay.
So if I say like, hey, I love this meal, no cheese, no sour cream. I'm picturing a Mexican restaurant. No cheese, no sour cream. And they're like, okay. And I see them write it down. And then my meal comes. I'll be like, oh, like, nope, I'll send it back. Like I asked for this and you wrote it down. And I generally was not that person prior to being vegan. But like I now can't eat this or I won't eat this. So I'm polite about it, of course. Though there have been people that are like, you were just super assertive with that waitress or that server. And I'm like, I asked for it, or this is the third time I've had to send it back now. So yeah, I am gonna be a little bit shorter with them.
And if you're paying for something, like let's get it right out here. Like I'm entitled to the experience that I wanted to have at your establishment. Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that, Tara. I definitely appreciate that, and I like the way that you said it. And I'm glad to hear that you are assertive in those moments too, because we all know those individuals who order something, it comes out in front of them like, oh no, it's fine. It's fine. No,
No.
you ordered a salad. You have a giant lobster on your plate right now. Like
Right,
what is like?
right.
It's not fine. So
Nothing fine about that.
Yeah, for sure. I want to go a little bit. I want to go a little bit deeper into here if we can. So let's go a little bit deeper. Oh, not these two again over here. Okay, all right, break it up, you two. Enough of this here now. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right, you're not smiling now, are you? Okay, apparently we're getting a little bit too deep there. So let's just hang on. Let's lighten the mood up for just a minute. Let's lighten it up, break it up, you two. Oh man, those sassy Brits.
The sassiest.
The sassiest. So, Tara, let's do this. Let's play a quick game. It's called Things You Didn't Know You Needed to Know About Me. All right? So, things you didn't know that you needed to know about me. We'll kind of go back and forth and see what comes up for both of us. Are we ready?
Cool. I'm ready.
Perfect. I am an Italian. No, I've said that one before. Different one. I have had the song, Do You Hear What I Hear? The Christmas Carol, stuck in my head for approximately 6 years. Like 6 years, hasn't gotten out of my, like I've had other songs that come in, but I consistently go back to, and here's the thing, I only know a few words. I only know, do you hear what I hear? Right? It's like, a star.
Oh, sing it, yeah.
Don't know anything else. Couldn't tell you the next words. Couldn't tell you, like I could hum along with the melody, but I have had that same, I have no idea. I now make up songs about Tina with it, right? Like, why are you so much trouble? I don't know what's happening. I cannot get it out of my head. I don't know why I keep coming back to it. There's a fun fact.
I will now have that stuck in my head for a few weeks, probably.
Great.
So thank you for that. Maybe we'll get to Christmas in July and I'll sing it again.
I love it.
Fun fact about me. I know all 50 state capitals.
You know, could rattle them off right now and just be like, boop.
Yeah, I could. Yes.
Well, Tara, it's show and tell.
Go for it.
Let's go, Tara. What do you got? Knowing all 50 state capitals. Here we go.
Oh,
You gonna
I'm
do
just
it?
supposed to rattle them all? Oh, okay, I thought you were going to quiz
Do
me.
you want me to chat? Oh, you want to do the quiz thing? Sure, we can do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
All right, let's do the guy. That's true. That's more fun. I didn't know if you like had a song. We're like, like it was like Animaniacs.
I do know the
United States, Canada,
state
Mexico,
song.
Panama.
No,
Shout out to the Animaniacs, underrated TV show.
really.
All right, 50 state capitals. What state capital do you want to test Tara out? Put it in the
Oh
chat.
no.
Put it in the chat. Let's see what we got here. I'll start really simple. What is the capital of Massachusetts?
The capital of Massachusetts is Boston.
Is Boston. It's not Springfield?
No, Springfield is the capital of Illinois. Positive.
You're right. Thank you, Brian Cotton. Thank you. Hello, nurse. Here we go. New Hampshire, capital of New Hampshire. Oh, Kentucky.
New Hampshire. Oh, Kentucky first. Kentucky is Frankfort.
Frankfort. Real
Yes.
small town. Been there. Had some good barbecue there. Next, New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Oh, shit. Am I allowed to curse on here?
No.
New Hampshire.
No fucking.
Montpelier is Vermont.
Oh.
Boston. Sorry. New Hampshire is I
I'm
want
not
to
a
say
woman.
Manchester, but that's wrong. And you may have stumped me. And I do know all 50.
Is it not Manchester? Is it So
No,
what do we
it's
got? We got
not.
Manchester, Portsmouth.
No.
We got Tim Ford knows. He lives in. Tim Ford knows.
Let's see.
He's
I
on
can
here.
do South Dakota.
South Dakota. Let's do that. Go ahead.
South Dakota is Pierre. Minnesota
Pierre.
is St. Paul.
St. Paul.
Wyoming is Helena.
Helena. I don't even know her. Tim is from New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Tim, what does it start with, Tim?
Uh-oh. The flight of the
Concord, New Hampshire. Yes.
Concord. Thank you. And
Yes,
Ann,
thank you.
I love
Ann.
that your little emoji is also a wink. You're like,
Yes.
Concord. I got
You got me. Thanks, Ann.
I love it. I love it. Type of jelly, Tim. I don't know if I get this. Do we get this one?
Concord is a type of jelly.
Concord jelly.
Jelly,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure. What if you were gonna have a peanut butter and jelly back when I don't know if you can still have peanut butter. I don't know how it works. But what would be your favorite jelly that you would have with your peanut butter and jelly?
So when I was little, none.
No jelly.
No jelly. Just peanut butter. Straight up, just peanut butter. Mostly creamy, sometimes crunchy. Now I can do, I usually just do grape. Good old grape jelly and peanut butter.
That's great. Concord grape jelly.
Yeah, exactly. Amanda, thank you for confirming. I do quiz in the car with the license plate. Yes,
There you
we've been
go.
on road trips together.
You also did just text her and tell her, please tell them that that's a fact.
My hands are here. My phone
Hand
is
check.
not.
Hand check. I love it. When I eat waffles, here's another random thing. When I eat waffles, every single square or partial square needs to have butter in it, and every square needs to get filled almost to the top with syrup before I will start to eat it. And then I will eat it quarter by quarter along the lines.
Yep.
What you got? What's your next fun fact?
What do I got? I was just picturing that. Waffles sound really good. So I have always been someone that just like creates my own stuff. So fun fact, I created my own major in college, the University of Maryland, hundreds of majors, created my own because I just thought, let me just put some majors together. And this, I can remember starting back when I was a kid, I would create these concoctions of shampoo while in the shower.
What? Tell me, I got to hear about this.
So like we would have like travel size shampoo from somewhere and I'd take it out of the cabinet, bring it in the shower with me and then be like, let me put some of this of my mom's shampoo and my dad's shampoo and my shampoo and we'll just mix it together. I don't know what I thought I was getting. Like, was it going to help my hair in any way? Like, did it smell better? I don't know, but I was always mixing stuff. To this day, I'll be like, I really want some sort of recipe. I'll just find a few and then just mix stuff, smell the food and be like, it smells decent. Like, this is pretty good. But never have I really just been like, I pick one thing. I'm always just like mixing stuff together, making it up as I go.
Okay, hold up.
Yes.
So if you're in your kitchen, you're like, I'm going to put a dash of this, a splash of that, a pinch of this,
1000%.
a chunk of that. And you're like, boop.
Yep.
I mean, I have learned here in my 30s how much control matters to me, and I don't like that part of me. I'm working on it. We can unpack that later if you want. But like the idea that I would just step into a kitchen and just blindly be like, Everybody take a seat. I got this. I mean, I respect and admire that about you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And
Absolutely.
9 times out of 10, it comes out pretty good. That's why I think I probably continue to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, for sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if it's not working, then you stop. I want to shout out to the few people that thank you, Suzette. Thank you, Jesse and Dan Fail. I appreciate you all. That is the correct way to eat a waffle. I agree. I'm team egregious amount of syrup. So
yes, me too.
Here's something else that I respect about you, Tara. Here's something else that I respect about you is that you are a passionate advocate. You are a passionate advocate for others. You talked about it a little bit earlier with your personal power and how you used to be, you're not used to, you used to speak up for a lot of other people, but you wouldn't always speak up for yourself. So this is always something that's been innate within you. When you think about advocacy for you, where does that come from? Like, why is being an advocate so important to you besides the fact that you're just a good person?
Oh, thanks. I think that it probably comes from having felt like an outsider for a lot of my young life because I was adopted, which I share freely and talk about a lot. And so being adopted, and I always point to this one example that sounds sort of silly and simple, but it's the idea that when I was little, everyone would ask each other what hospital they were born in. I don't know if it was at a time where parents were like having their younger siblings or something, but they would ask that question. And I was always like, oh, like I was born in Kentucky. That's all I know. And everyone was always born in one of two hospitals because I lived in a very like homogeneously same every single identity town. Everyone was white, two parents, heterosexual family, Christian, like then there was our token families that sort of popped up throughout the town. And so that for me, I've always just sort of felt like an outsider. And then I have some memories of when new students would move into school. In the first grade it happened and in the third grade it happened. First grade, it was Janet was her name. And her family was from Mexico. Shout out Janet. Her family was from Mexico. She didn't speak much English. And the teacher was like, you're going to sit next to Tara. And we just sort of hit it off. We taught each other. I taught her English. She taught me some Spanish. And I was just like that kind person. Happened again in the third grade. Anum moved into our town. She was a Muslim student. That was not something that we were familiar with. Same thing. Teacher just like, oh, you're going to sit next to Tara. So I don't know if like it found me or if it was a part of me or if it's a combination or what. I was just like, oh, this is my role. Great. So that has always been sort of how I have shown up, I guess.
Yeah, that's powerful. Now, Tara, I was not adopted, much to what my parents try to make jokes about. So I was not adopted. So I don't have that experience that you had. And I know that you don't know anything else, but what is interesting is that you recently, as in the last, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 years, were able to connect with your biological parents. And that was a pretty special time. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I've always known that I was adopted. Since I was little, I would talk about it like a proud little child. Like people like, what's a fun fact? And I'd be like, I'm adopted. And my mom would be like, yes, that's true. And we're very proud of it, but like, relax. So that has always been a big part of my identity. And then I connected with my biological parents in the last 5 to 7 years, I would say, but I met them for the first time. And the fun part and unique part, every adoption I believe is very unique, but one thing that is unique about my story is that my biological parents stayed together. So they had me when they were in high school. I was put up for adoption. They stayed together. They had my sister, got married, and had my brothers. And so I have 3 full biological siblings who are phenomenal humans. I love them so much. And so I had this opportunity to be raised as an only child and have 2 really rad parents, and then meet this additional family that I can just sort of add into my village, which has really been an amazing experience. And so, in March of 2018, I met my biological parents for the first time, my sister for the second time, and then my brothers and their significant others and my nieces all for the first time. And it was really a beautiful, very emotionally draining, but beautiful day.
Yeah. I mean, that had to be surreal because I mean, genetics are a thing, turns out. And so,
Turns out, very much
spoiler
so.
alert,
Yes.
the Earth's also round. So we're really got the hard-hitting facts coming in here.
Yeah.
Sadly, some people need to learn both of those things. But so, with genetics being a thing, what was it like to meet individuals? Particularly, I know you and your biological sister. We'll just call her sister from here on out. Your sister. What was it like to meet her? And I know there's some things where you all were like, oh, whoa, that's kind of crazy. Like, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So my sister and I look very much alike. It is so wild. The weirdest part to me was that genetics, turns out, also have to do with or affect your mannerisms. In my mind, mannerisms were very much learned. Like, there are a lot of things that genetics obviously impacts, but mannerisms, I'm like, you see your parents do certain things, and I've done things that my parents do. Like, my dad and I watching sports, we sit the exact same way. We are zoned in on the game, and I look over and I'm like, wow, we are sitting identically.
Yeah.
But then I got into a room with my sister, and I remember my biological dad sitting there looking at the both of us, whacking my brother. And my brother was like, what? And he was like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? They're doing the exact same thing. This is wild. And there was a picture. My brother's wife was taking photos when we were all together. And there's a picture of me, my sister, Heather, my biological mom. And we're standing the exact same way. Like, I don't know what it was, but when you look at the picture, I'm like, oh my gosh. We literally just have the same resting, like, I'm listening to you face. And that part was just super wild to me. Because there are people in my life who are like, I was raised with my full biological siblings and I look nothing like them. And you all look exactly the same. Yeah, so weird. And crazy. I would also say, like, I remember asking my youngest brother at one point, he took his hat off and I was like, can I touch your hair? And he was like, yeah. Sure. I was like, I don't know. Like, I know what Heather's hair looks like, and I know what Matthew's hair feels like, and his hair is my hair, but your hair looks a little different. Can I just touch it? And he was like, yeah, all right. Which is not something normal. Right. People who are raised with, from my understanding, their full biological siblings, you're not thinking about like, is my hair the same texture as this person's hair in my family? But for me, all of that stuff was just brand new. And so that was really wild to just sort of engage in that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I can literally can only imagine. There is no adoption story that is the same, right? Each one is different, and the placement and the process that it took to get to wherever the placement was, and some went through foster care and then got to adoption, and some were adopted as like every single adoption story is so different. And since having been someone who was not adopted and doesn't have that story, what is something that you wish more people knew about adoption, people who are adopted, or like, and just in those conversations? And obviously we don't need to handle them like they're Fabergé eggs, right? Like they're badass human beings in this world. So that's not what I'm saying, but I'm just curious, is there anything that you wish people knew or that you wish people would say or not say?
Yeah, I think one, to understand that not all adoption stories are the same. That is a huge thing to understand. Not to make an assumption like, oh, if you were in foster care, then this is what your life looked like. Or if you weren't in foster care, then your life was better somehow or worse somehow, right? Like, not making those assumptions or stereotyping folks. I think for me, I've also learned about just the trauma that goes along with adoption. And I know some folks brought up trauma in talking about chakras. And I didn't realize this until I was seeing a therapist a few years ago. And she was like, you were adopted as an infant. And so you don't remember it, but your body does. Like, the neuroscience behind adoption says that once you are, as a mammal, taken away from your biological mom, there is something that your body does that it's like, oh, that was a trauma. I was just taken away from this place where I like grew and developed and became a human. And my body definitely has held on to that. And so that for me has developed into this need for security, some anxious attachment stuff. I'm reading this book on attachment styles right now. I just really dived straight into the work. And so like the anxious attachment is something that's also a thing. And I think it probably comes from that too. I had a very loving childhood. I have an awesome, loving family on the front side of my adoption, right? So like my biological family is awesome. My parents are fantastic. I have all of this love, and still I was struggling with some like depression and anxiety, and I didn't know why. And I felt guilty because I was like, but I'm so lucky. My family and my story is so special. And so I think it's important for people just to know, like, no, we don't need to act like everyone who was adopted or who has a story is fragile, but asking about the story and understanding they may or may not want to share some things because there is some pain that's associated with that. And for me, I think that that's been really important too, not to judge, like not to be like, well, my friend Tara was adopted and she met her biological family. You have no desire. You really have no desire. Some people are like, I really have no desire. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to meet them. Like I have my family and I'm happy the way that that is. So I think just treating as we should maybe in general, but treating everyone who may have an adoption story or who have been in foster care to just ask, understand, allow for their boundaries to be where they need to be. Because you might be curious, but it is a very real part of their story and their life.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and asking, almost like asking how you should ask sometimes is powerful. Like it's like back it up even one step a little bit further. I think that thank you for teaching me something today. I really appreciate that, and teaching the listeners as well. I'm sure the viewers, and so I think that it is so powerful to be able to hear someone's story, but it's also a privilege to be able to hear someone's story. Like not everybody is entitled to your story when they want it. Right. And if they don't want to share it to you, that's fine. Like you got to get over it. Sorry. And you just need to recognize that like not everybody is ready to be at that point or feel safe. And we feel safe around different types of individuals or when we're going to share and when we're not going to share. I know that for me with like my low self-esteem issues and things that I struggle with, not everybody gets that story. A lot of people get the little canned one, the little package that I've prepared for you. Where it's like, here's your little nugget. That's right. Yes, consider me vulnerable, but you don't know the half of it, right? So we can graze over it. And that's so true with so many things in our life. I think another place where that is true in your life, and feel free to correct me if I am wrong, is that in your in your learning about your sexuality, and learning about it is in learning what it means for you to be who you are and exist in this world. Not everybody gets to get that whole story exactly when you start to feel something, or even when you've been in it for a number of years. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden everybody is a safe place. I think that's a really important thing to remember. And the way that we approach individuals and have those conversations matters. We create the feeling of safety. We don't demand it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. I love the way that you just said that. And I think for me, one language thing that I'll say about being adopted, and I would say that this also applies from an LGBTQ and any sort of sexual orientation perspective, is this concept of when I've talked about being adopted, I also have the canned story that I would share until I started digging into some of the stuff around it.
Yeah.
But is the idea of like, oh, well, but what about your real dad? And I'd be like, no, like I have an adoptive dad and a biological dad, and they're both very much real. So I'm not entirely sure what you mean by my real dad. And I think that goes along with also with sexuality. It's like, yeah, but like, what are you really? Or like, how do you really identify? Or are you really a lesbian if you find this man attractive? Or are you really queer if you don't know anything about the queer movement? Right. And so people just questioning your credibility in any of those identities is like, this is my identity and my story and my process. And so I can be wherever on my journey that I need to be. And so it doesn't make me less real or credible.
Yeah. And it's deeply offensive, right? That we have to credential ourselves. Like that's a point of privilege, right? Like I myself, I never have to credential myself as a straight, white, heterosexual, come from more than enough man. I don't have to walk in the room and be like, here's who I am. Everybody's like, we know.
We know.
We all know. And it's so interesting because that is a privilege that I have, but that not everybody has, for sure. And so for you in your journey of owning your personal power for who you are, and naming your identity and sitting with the identities that you have, what does that look like? In other words, what does that look like in that couldn't have always been easy to just come out and come out with, like, here's this story, and come out with, here's what I think about adoption, here's what I think about being a member of this community, or anything like that. What was that journey like, and were there people that helped you along the way, or like what happened there?
Yeah, I think having control of the narrative is probably something that was always important to me, but I couldn't have named that. So being like, I mean, when I tell you that I used to tell people that I was born in Kentucky because I was adopted, I was selling them adoption as if they really missed out on something. Like, that is how hard I was sharing that story. And so I feel like that is the way that I've sort of packaged things neatly, to be like, no, well, it's like the greatest thing in the whole world to be adopted. I was born in Kentucky, and it's so cool. And like, you should have been adopted too, but it's cool. It's fine. I'm kind of neat like that. So I think having other people tell that story, having a sense of pride in my adoption story particularly, has been really important. And then it's also important for me to protect people who are a part of that. So making sure that my biological family and my parents, that they all are okay with me sharing that story. And I think about that with my coming out process as well, is I share certain things about my coming out process, and there are certain things that I don't share because I want to protect folks that maybe didn't have a hard time, relationships that maybe I lost because people just weren't ready to have those hard conversations. I don't always share that in a very public space because I don't think that that's fair, because there's two people that are a part of that story. So I try to share what I can about me and the work that I've done and what I know, and not judge someone else for how they maybe have shown up, because I need to have the empathy to know, like, they're in their own sort of place with that. So I think from an LGBTQ perspective, it's just been seeing other people own their own identity and really being able to like follow that and see that representation. And when the representation hasn't been there, to be able to like, I need to draw some attention to this because we're silencing people, or there's some voices that aren't being heard.
Yeah. That's so powerful. I love the way that you just put that, and I think that there's so much to be taken away from what you just described. And I know that when I first started to try to become an advocate, an ally, when I wanted to be seen as an ally, but I didn't know anything, right? I didn't even know about myself and what it meant to be who I am, where I'm from, how I was brought up, and all those things. And I was brought up in a very liberal, very accepting household, but we also didn't talk about these kind of things, and not because they were shunned. We just literally didn't talk about them because we didn't have to, right? Again, that's part of privilege, is not having to talk about it, not having to think about it. And so there's no negative commentary on the way I was raised there. But it is so interesting to think about the role that we play in creating those spaces for individuals to be able to learn, to be able to open up, to be able to teach, because it's also not the job of oppressed individuals to teach non-oppressed individuals about their oppression. Like, that's not why you're here. And so for me, when I first became an ally or an advocate, when I first started using those names, I don't even know if I was doing it right yet. I knew I wanted to be that, but I was certainly putting my foot in my mouth left and right. And so I'm grateful for the individuals that took the time to be like, maybe reword that this way, or here was your intent, but here was the impact. And those kind of moments were super powerful for me. And so I'm just grateful that you came on to this show today, Tara, and taught us a little bit more about that, and a little bit more about your story, and keep crushing that yellow personal power chakra work.
Thank you,
Tara Fuller.
Thank you.
The work that you do in this world matters. Thank you for shedding so many lights on things that I didn't know that I was or could be even. And so thank you for making me a better ally, a better friend, a better speaker. I really appreciate you for sure.
I
If you all
appreciate
have
you.
some, hell yeah, homie.
Yeah.
If you all have some questions for Tara, we're going to stick around and stick around. But for those of you that are here on the podcast, thank you for listening to this episode. We really appreciate you. Check us out next week when a new episode's coming out. And if you want to hear the Q&A, make sure you jump onto my YouTube page where this video will be posted. James Robillata on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. Tara, are you cool if we stick around and and answer some questions
Happy
for
to.
some people that they may have? I'm curious if any of you all have questions about. I mean, Tara is an open book, and I would also say that if you ask a question in the wrong way, that is okay.
Yes.
I would
Yes.
Right? We would both much rather have you ask the question so we can talk about it than just sit and, well, I don't want to say the wrong thing, because in the midst of just being afraid of saying the wrong thing, we're not learning. We're staying stuck. So would you agree with that, Tara?
Yes, I would agree with that. I would say as an educator, I'm happy to answer your questions. I think if you have friends that you want to ask questions to based on their identities, that's maybe a little bit touchier because you need to know where to go and how to navigate that. But I am happy to answer your questions, and I will not, I will happily call you in to educate on any language questions that you may have. Always.
I appreciate that. We got some questions, I'm sure, that are percolating in the chat. Also, if you could do me a favor, shout out Tara in the chat. Show her some love. Thank her for coming through.
This was so fun.
This was so dope. Scott says thank you. I don't know
Thanks,
if I
Scott.
understand. Do you understand this?
No.
Okay, great. Maybe someone was tagged. Maybe that was someone who was tagged. So for sure, Ann said thank you. Appreciate you, Ann. Thank you for your knowledge. Here we go. Mel Lewis has a question. What's your favorite thing about New? You know, I wasn't going to bring up New Jersey. Shouldn't you be proud of me? I didn't bring up New Jersey this whole time.
I am really, really proud of you. And I love how hard Mel Lewis goes for New Jersey. So shout out to that.
It's so hard.
So hard. I love it.
She's wrapped up in a pork roll.
She is. Yes. I love about New Jersey two things. One, I love how small we are, yet how divided we can be over some of the things that happen here. Like, is there a Central Jersey? Yes or no? I say yes because that's where I'm from. A lot of people say no. Pork roll, Taylor ham, Philly or New York, which is the city? New York. Just throwing it out there. But there's so many things that we're divided on, and we're such a tiny little state. But truly, my favorite thing is the Jersey Shore, and not the show. Not the show, clarifier, not the show. The actual Jersey Shore, going down the shore. That's what we say when we go to the beach here. And I have the privilege now of living on the Jersey Shore, which is a dream come true for me. So that's super, super awesome.
There you go. So I grew up on Long Island. And here's the thing about Long Island and New Jersey. We don't like each other. The reason why we don't like each other a little secret is that because we're basically the same exact people.
Yes.
And we refuse to actually name that. And so we're like, nah, these people over here, nah. Right? So
yes,
classic.
100%.
Scott, to keep with the Jersey theme, I don't know if you have your top 3 faves of New Jersey. But here we go. Tara's top 3.
Top 3?
My top 3 favorites of New Jersey, I'll tell you. One is definitely the Goethals Bridge to New York. Number 2 would be the Holland Tunnel to New York. And then last but not least, the Lincoln Tunnel to New York. Top 3 favorite things about New Jersey. So, yeah.
It's funny because I hear the shape. I get it. Thanks. But one of my top 3 is the Lincoln Tunnel into New York because my grandmother lives in New York. And so that is one of my favorite things is driving through there to get to the city. I would say North Wildwood. That's where my family and I go to down the shore every summer. And then the Bent Spoon, which is an ice cream place in Princeton that I learned to love. Amanda also introduced me to that when I worked at Rider University. It is so amazingly delicious, and they have lots of vegan flavors. So shout out to Ben Spoon.
Shout out For sure.
Yes.
Now I worked. My actual favorite part. I do love me some New Jersey. I do. I can't. I'm just not allowed to publicly say it, but here we are. Fine, it's on the record. But I'm a big fan of Jersey City. I worked in New Jersey City University, and I'm a huge fan of Jersey City for that reason. It's a town with a lot going on, and I love it up there. And not everybody loves it there, but I would definitely put that up there as one of my favorite things. I'd also put Rutgers Camden is one of my favorite schools that I've ever spoken at. I've done their orientation for at least 7 years, and they're one of the first schools that believed in me so much that they actually kept bringing me back. And I'm down here for those Raptors. So for sure. Amanda backed you up on the bent spoon.
Yep.
Brian Cotton showing you a little bit of love. My dad showing you a little bit of love as well. I agree, Dad.
Papa Robolata, thanks.
Indeed. Suzette's got a really cool question here. Tara, what's the most exciting experience you've had as a speaker?
That is a really great question. Anytime a student comes up and just wants a hug, which has happened several times. Like, I think speakers often get like a line of folks that have questions or wanted to say like, this was so great. Thank you. Can I connect with you? I have more questions on this. But there have been at least 3 times that I can think of where someone has come up and been like, thank you. Can I have a hug? And I've been like, 100% you can have a hug. Yeah. Also, thanks for asking. Consent is important. And I love that. Like, just connecting with them because something moved them and I don't know what it is. And I think that's sort of the exciting part for me is I don't need to know. I've planted some sort of seed and I may never know what it grows into, but being able to make that connection and have that moment. There was one person at NGLA, Northeast Greek Leadership Conference, shout out, where she just came up to me and she was in tears and she was like, I just wanted to say thank you. And I asked her, I was like, would you like a hug? She was like, yeah. And I was like, great, that's awesome. And I gave her a hug and that was it. She was just like, thanks. And just like scurried off. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, cool. That's cool. But those connections have really been the most powerful and the most exciting because I just know that I sparked something and I can leave it at that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. And that speaks to the kind of speaker that you are as well, where you create those moments where like, I haven't even finished processing what you told me, but it's all boiling inside of me. And I just need to thank you for even making me pause or letting me see myself in someone else. Or it's why you're so damn good, Tara. For sure. Let's lighten it up really quick. Break it up, you two. What shows are you watching right now?
I just finished season 2 of Killing Eve with Sandra Oh, which I watched on Hulu. I don't know where it originally happens, but I really loved that. Yeah. What else am I watching right now? I just started watching Mindhunter, which I didn't know if it might be. I don't do scary. So I was like, is this going to be too scary for me? Not really sure if I'm going to like this, but it feels very scary. What?
I also don't do scary. I can't stand it.
Not a thing. Yep. But this feels more like psychologically scary, which still I don't love, but it's kind of like SVU-esque, I think. I don't know. Yeah. I've only watched the first episode and I liked it. And then I also just finished 2 seasons of Dead to Me with Christina Applegate.
Okay.
Interesting show. I still don't really know how I feel about it, but I watched the whole thing.
James Crawford's in here for some Mindhunter, for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in. Really super excited to dive in.
I love that. Tina and I are finishing up Ugly Delicious, which is a food show. Michael Chang is is a famous chef, and I did like Momofuku's Noodle Bar and all the Momofukus actually. But yeah, he's incredible, and the show is awesome. They take a specific type of food and then they show you it around the world, and they talk about some of its societal effects as well. For example, like the first episode is about pizza, and so there's this battle of Brooklyn versus Italian, and there's this quote where this Italian over in Naples, he talks about, he's like, we were making pizza while you were still fighting the Indians, and like stuff like that, aka taking their land. But still, but yeah, I love Ugly Delicious. Is really a really cool show, and I recommend it. They also just recently did an episode all on steak, and they talked about the socioeconomic play of steak, and it was really fascinating, and also the gender roles that steak brings up. So it's cool. It goes deeper, and it's not a cooking show; it's a food culture show. It's really cool and well done. Abby's got a question. What brings you joy? What brings you joy? What brings you joy?
What brings me joy? The ocean brings me a lot of joy, immense amounts of joy. Yeah, being able to see the ocean from my window, it has been everything for me. Children bring me a lot of joy. I think we can learn so much from them, and they're just hilarious, and they don't realize it sometimes, and that's the best.
Yep.
The best.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I agree with you in the ocean. I am not a religious person, but the closest I feel to religion, spirituality is always at the ocean. I went to school. I grew up on Long Island, went to the beach all the time. We went to Fire Island because it's better than Jersey Shore. And then we would also went to school in Wilmington, North Carolina. Let's go Seahawks, James Crawford, Dan Fale. But so I went to UNC Wilmington, and whenever I was having a tough time, I would get in my car, drive to the ocean, and just sit on the beach. And that was where I found peace. It's where I found, I don't know, it's where I felt, it's always where I feel the closest to my grandparents. I've unfortunately lost every grandparent that I've had. And I don't know why, I feel closer to them there. And so I don't know. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. One thing I'll add to my list is also being in New York City brings me joy. That energy is infectious. And I just love that place. So great question. Appreciate you, Abby. I'm going to switch here. Let's go. Brendan asked a bigger question. Let's address this one, Tara. I'm curious to hear how you'd say this.
Strong genes, genetics. Other than mannerisms, you know what was this is going to go super deep. I think we need that meme or video back again. So my biological dad unfortunately passed away in September 29th, last year of 2019. And I had the opportunity, and I say opportunity intentionally, even though it was a very sad time, but to go and be in mourning with my biological family. And that was super powerful for me and very impactful. I appreciated the opportunity to be there to support my siblings who lost their dad. And then for me, I just got an opportunity to learn a lot more about myself. And I wish that he was still here and I didn't have that opportunity. But in that, I learned about how maybe and why I am the ways that I am. Because when I saw the amount of people that showed up to the church for his viewing, and the different types of people that showed up. And again, I don't know everyone's identities because identities are visible and invisible. But when I saw the different types of people that showed up and how little judgment there was around what people wore. I mean, I was raised in the Catholic Church, right? Like judgment is a part of what we do in a lot of ways. And I mean that with the utmost respect, but truly it's like, oh, did you see what so-and-so wore to this like baby shower? Or someone came to church and they had jeans on, God forbid. And it's like, if people could just show up how they need to show up in that moment, can we just accept that they're there and doing the right thing? But I think that that was really important to me. And I was like, is this genetic? Is this like a part of the DNA that is in me? Is that something, I mean, just the amount of acceptance that there was to me also, like folks that were meeting me for the first time and just like, oh, I didn't know they had another daughter. And I was like, yeah, like I was put up for adoption when they were in high school and they were like, oh my gosh, it's so great to meet you. And I was like, oh, wow, you didn't just like judge me up and down and then move on. You were just totally accepting. Like, I didn't know, let's have a hug. Great. Let's keep it moving. So those things were really powerful for me to see. as I experienced that and kind of walked through the grief alongside my siblings and my biological mom and their family.
Yeah. First of all, Tara, thank you for sharing that story with us.
Yeah.
For sure, I really appreciate it. And I would also assume that in that moment, meeting those individuals at your father's funeral, that is a really powerful moment of test of his character. Right? Like the people that showed up and spoke to you that way are a testament of his character, that he attracted those kinds of individuals, is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, it's hard because it wasn't a positive time, but it was just very powerful and very impactful. And it felt like, wow, I have a lot of the values that I have because of my parents. And I also have a lot of the values that I have because of the family that I was born from. So that was just a lot for me. It was the first time that I could realize that I was both people's daughters, or both sets of parents' daughters, and hold that together. The first time that I was ever able to do that. And because people would come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, you're Matt's daughter. And I'd be like, yeah, I am. Like, I can be Matt's daughter and I can be Glenn's daughter, and those things can live together harmoniously, and because that's who I am. And that was really cool. There are no rules, right? No rules about it.
I love that. Thanks for answering Brendan's question. Brendan, great question.
Brendan, thanks for your question. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Mel Lewis has a question. What advice would you give for anyone looking to learn more about all of different identities that are out there? Is there a book that you would read, a training you would send somebody through, all those kind of things?
Trying to think how I was sort of first exposed, really. I kind of think of the different cartoons that are out there. I've not watched Frozen 2, but I have heard that Frozen 2 sort of touches on things like this. And so I think we can learn a lot from children's movies as adults to be like, oh, they're talking about differences here. Like the movie Happy Feet, I think about a lot when I think about differences, is like he's being shunned because he doesn't do the same things that the other penguins do. And so that for me was very powerful. So I would start small and just be like, oh, can I notice difference in certain things? And then I think diving into documentaries on Netflix, on Hulu, on Amazon Prime, whatever service you use, documentaries are huge. I think you don't need to do things that don't suit you. So if you don't love to read nonfiction books, then don't assume you're going to be able to dive into a nonfiction book and read about all of the identities. But if you're like, yeah, I learn best by listening to podcasts, great. There's some awesome podcasts out there that talk about identity. I would highly recommend listening to 1619 from the New York Times to learn more about race and racism in the United States. Like there are things out there that I would offer, and I don't know because I've been in this work for a long time, are non-threatening if you have identities that are privileged. And as James, as you said earlier, it's really important to think about how am I doing this work and not asking other folks to do this work for me. Not to be like, so Tara, you identify as queer. Tell me all of the things that means to you.
Come over here, have a seat.
Right. Finding, Apple Plus just put out a documentary I've not watched yet called Visible, and it's about LGBTQ folks in the media. So looking up some of those resources is really important. I think there are certainly lots of resources out there and books out there where you can see characters that maybe aren't like you and really just try to understand what their story looks like. So I could definitely think of certain movies and things like that would be helpful, but I think just engaging in anything that challenges you where you start to feel a little bit uncomfortable and not turning it off is probably a good place to start.
Yeah, for sure. And then in watching those things, checking yourself, right? Like, how am I showing up to this moment? Am I showing up to this with my guard up, ready to be like, no, that's not this? Or am I showing up to it as being authentically curious of maybe I don't know everything. And let's see what I know and what I don't know, right? Like I try to meet every new person with that same authentic curiosity of let me just learn, right? Like why spend my life assuming so I can feel better about myself? I don't know if that's how I want to go through my life. And so, yeah, so when you're watching these things and listening to them, even some shows, right? Like I love Dear White People, and it's a great show that puts a great mirror up to the world. And even recently, Tina and I are watching the Avengers movies all over again, and there's a lot of parallels, and Stan Lee, Dan Feld talks a lot about this. There's a lot of parallels about racism in those kind of things, and oppression, and there's so many parallels. If you want to see it, you can see it, and it's certainly there. And you mentioned Frozen 2, so I will put up Samantha, my favorite quote. Brian Cotton, also giant Happy Feet fan. Shout out to Brian Cotton.
Brian.
Last question coming from your friend and mine, everybody's favorite Sigma, Jesse Perez Simmons. If you could read a book or a series for the first time again, what would you choose? Is it tough? Are you a reader, Tara?
So I'm not a huge reader. I've been reading a lot in quarantine. Yeah, like that's not ever really been my thing. But I do have an answer for this. Is Malcolm Gladwell's books in the order that they came out. I don't know that they're supposed to be in a certain order, but I would be interested because like Blink, I don't know when Blink came out. It came out maybe a decade ago. I have no idea. But thinking about how I have shifted as a human since then, and how would I read that now with the lens that I have and the way my lens has maybe evolved. So nonfiction tends to be where I go, is like, how do humans operate, human psychology, sociology, self-development and growth and chakras and all that kind of stuff. So that's really where I dive into. It's super nerdy and exciting.
I also don't read fiction. I have nothing against fiction, but I think that I don't read a lot of it. Even in the shows that I watch, right? Like my most recently watched shows are all in the documentary or that educational, that kind of category. So yeah, I agree with you on that. I'd throw a couple in here. I'd love to read. First off, I think every time I read Daring Greatly, it might as well be the first time that I've read it because I'm in a brand new place in my life. And so I think that Brene Brown's work is something that I'm hugely a fan of. Again, I have a goal to meet Brene Brown within 5 years. If you can help me with that goal, please let me know. Also, I think a book that I recently read, but would love and will reread it again, is Tuesdays with Morrie.
Yep.
That one will punch you in the face for sure. I also wonder, if I read a book like Of Mice and Men or Night by Elie Wiesel, or if I read a Catcher in the Rye for the first time right now, how would that hit me? Right. And so I think those are some interesting books that I think back to also. Yeah.
So 3 things that we have learned, James, that we have in common in this conversation.
1.
Charlotte is our favorite airport.
2.
We don't do scary movies. And we
3.
generally don't read fiction.
Boom. Put that in your top 3.
Look at that.
Look at that. Everything comes back to the rule of 3s, y'all. Friends, can we clap it out one time for Tara Fuller? Do me a favor, throw a heart, throw a love, throw an emoji. Tell me, hang on a second. Tell us what you thought about getting to kick it with Tara Fuller today. And just show her some love in the chat, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Tara. It's been so fun having you on Diner Talks.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. It has been so much fun. I feel like we could just continue to talk for hours and hours.
I wouldn't be mad about it. I'll tell you that. Make sure that you stay in touch with Tara. After this is posted tomorrow, I'll make sure I'll include where you can find her website and you can learn more about her. But this is her Instagram. In the meantime, make sure you're connecting with her on Instagram. Can't thank you enough. So grateful that you all tuned in and stuck around. I appreciate you. To all my 80 Pie sisters, thank you for sticking around. Thank you, everyone. Tara, this was super informative, super educational, and I just want to thank you for being an educator, for being patient with those of us that still have so much to learn. It is truly a gift, and we and those who get to experience you are better for it. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Hell yeah. Y'all, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Diner Talks with James. We're going to be back next week with a brand new guest and another deep, badass conversation that we're also going to chuckle a little bit in. Thank you so much for coming in. And in the meantime, keep asking cool questions so you can keep having powerful conversations. Take care, y'all.